To find the confidence interval, you need to use the formula p hat minus the margin of error less than p hat plus the margin of error. And the margin of error is found by this formula here, z sub alpha over 2, the critical value, times the square root of p hat times q hat over n. So we got to find the margin of error first before we can use our confidence interval. So let's see what we have in our question. In a poll of 1,501 randomly selected adults showed that 70% of the respondents believed in global warming. The sample results are n equals 1,501 and p hat equals 0.70. We are going to construct a 95% confidence interval to estimate the population proportion p. So we're trying to find a population proportion confidence interval. So first things first is we need to know what's given to us. Well, we know that our n value is 1,501. And we know that our p hat value is 0.70, where the 70% and the 0.70 are not coincidental. That's where it comes from. And q hat, as we know, is just 1 minus p hat, so 0.30. Now, once we have all this stuff, we still need to find out our critical value. So we know that we have a 95% confidence interval, so our C level is 0.95. And we still need to get alpha over 2. So we're going to use the C level to get our alpha over 2. So alpha over 2 is going to be equal to 1 minus 0.95 divided by 2. And when we work that out, we're going to end up getting 0.025. So now we can replace alpha over 2 with 0.025. So z sub 0.025. Now you can use inverse norm of 0.025. You can look into your chart for 0.025. If you get a negative value, that's okay. Just change it to a positive. But once you get your critical value, we get 1.96. So that is our z alpha over 2. Now we can use this along with our p, q, and n to get the margin of error. So our margin of error, E, is going to be 1.96 times the square root of 0.70 times 0.30 divided by 1,501. And when we do that arithmetic, our margin of error is going to be 5 decimal places, I would say, 0.02318. And that should be sufficient. Now that we have our margin of error, 0.02318, our confidence interval is our p hat value minus the margin of error and our p hat value plus our margin of error. So we're going to take 0.70 and subtract and add our margin of error. So I'm going to take 0.70, subtract 0.02318 less than p less than 0.70 plus 0.02318. Now I'm going to add our value, or subtract our two values on the left and add our two values on the right. And I'm going to round it to 3 decimal places because most often it's just a 3. And I'm going to get 0.677 is less than p is less than 0.723 as our interval. So our confidence interval is 0.677 to 0.723 for this question here for a confidence interval proportion.